This is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal.
Don't really worry too much if he's on the bench. I know he's going to come on and deliver something.
I think this is a ridiculous comment to say that Arsene Wenger is not a football man.
But some people like to live in the past.
Why do you think Arsene wouldn't have a drink with Souness in his office?
Because he didn't like him, probably. I just think we're too strong at the moment. We're too good. We've got too much quality for them.
It's been 11 days since Arsenal last played, but while all your friends are pretending to care about the Nations League, why not dive into something we actually love, the Arsenal? This is Inside Gooners, and I'm Talia Lazarus. Here to help pick up your spirits during the dreaded international break are former Arsenal striker Jeremie Aliadiere, the Arsenal oracle that is Clive Palmer, and commentator and Arsenal podcaster Harry Symeou. So let's get straight into things. Clive, probably one of the more interesting international breaks, as England have just appointed a new manager, Thomas Tuchel. I'm actually really excited about it. I'm excited to see what can happen, but probably a conversation for another time in depth. But I want to briefly ask you then, with your England cap on, what is your reaction?
I'm fine with it, you know. I think he's a top manager. I think Manchester United should maybe looked at him in the summer, but they didn't go for it. So yeah, when we played against Bayern Munich last year, I felt that he had a great tactical plan against Arsenal and he executed it. He has a stature on the sideline which befits England really as a team, as a country. Now there's going to be people going to say his nationality, but that's for them to say. On a purely football side of things, I think it's a really good, ambitious appointment to have high-quality players have a high-quality coach. I think that's really important. It's the players that really matter, and then we get the outcome when they're happy with their coach.
Very nicely put. So let's talk a little bit more about the international break, as obviously we're right in the middle of it. So Declan Rice in the goals has again scored. This is his second goal in the Nations campaign. So Rice, though, might have had a slow start to the Arsenal season, do we think? I want to know your guys' thoughts.
I think it's difficult to say that he's had a slow start because I think we've had to use him in different ways because of some of the injury problems that we've had. Arsenal have been really adaptable and flexible in the way that they've played at the start of that campaign, which means that people are having to do things that maybe don't come as natural to them. We've seen him play really high up as a left eight at times, which I personally don't think suits him down to a T. At times this season, we've had to drop him deeper to sit alongside Partey or sometimes Jorginho to make sure that we're a bit more solid in the absence of Odegaard and basically playing different ways. So I think what we're asking of Declan Rice right now is very complex, very complicated, and therefore it's harsh to say that he started the season slow. I would prefer to say he's done a good job for the team, but we know that there's still more to come from him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's been asked to do different stuff in different games. I know it's similar position, but with different, allowed to go forward, not allowed to go too much forward, have to cover, depending who's playing next to him. So, yeah, I agree. I think we can't really judge him compared to what maybe he was doing last season. I think it's a team, and sometimes you've got to do what's right for the team. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta gives him different information in different games, and he's got to apply. So, yeah.
Clive, what are your thoughts?
I think the Brighton game I thought was a challenge for him, not just the sending off. I thought he was too high too early. If you look at the average position map, he was the furthest player forward. And I don't think we signed Declan Rice to be the furthest player forward in any game, right? So I think he's better behind the ball. But where does that mean? Is he better to the right-hand side of that line or the left-hand side of that line? I think as he develops into the team, I think he'll move to the sixth, which probably means the right-hand side of that line. To see him play for England on the right-hand side, I quite like that. He's done quite well. I think many of us think he's not done so well because I think in our minds, we have him as a true six and he's not been there. And I think if we flip our minds and say, is he just a really good all-round midfielder? This is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. If you do one job, I don't think you're going to have a job for much long. And that's the way I look at it. You've got to do multiple roles in his team. So we should enjoy his development. and wait for him to turn on the afterburners later in the season.
I do think we focus too much sometimes on what Declan Rice maybe isn't amazing at doing rather than all the great things that he can do. This idea that Declan Rice is going to sit at the base of a midfield and take one touch and play progressive passes in the way that maybe Jorginho can do or even Thomas Partey can do, it doesn't really fit with what Declan Rice is. I see him as more of a carrier of the ball rather than someone that's going to play it through lines early. And when he does that, he's unstoppable. We saw it at the start of last season when he played as a 6. And to Clive's point, I think had Mikel Merino and Martin Odegaard been available, I think you might have seen Declan Rice sit at the base of the midfield more often, in which case I think you see his strengths shine through a bit more.
I like what Clive said. This is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. That was very nicely put. So then, obviously, Bukayo Saka, he is back with Arsenal, which is good news, obviously, but coming off from an England game with a potential injury. Are we confident and hopeful that he'll be OK for Bournemouth?
I think so. I think he will. I think, we've seen in the past players coming off with little hamstring injuries and then a few days later they're back on the pitch and they train and play the next game. So I think he'll be. I think after it'll be a decision of Mikel Arteta deciding to start him or not, that depending on who's available around as well and who he's got planned to start with. But I think he'll be fine. I don't think it's anything to worry about,
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor really, Talia.
You want to be?
But we're all hopeful, aren't we? We're all hopeful because his goals and assists, his contributions, set pieces, a lot. We all know what he does. But I'm also got a bit of me saying we have got a lot of games coming up. If it just means we have to maybe start him from the bench and have a look at the game, that's not the worst thing in the world. Got Champions League a couple of days later, and then we've got Liverpool in the horizon. And maybe I'm looking at that game too much, right? The Liverpool game. But he needs to be on the pitch for that game. That's the most important one for me.
Yeah, we absolutely have to look after him as well, don't we? Because he is such an important player, and I think it's easy to go into kind of panic mode when you think that one of your best players is not going to be available. But with Bukayo Saka, who's played an awful lot of football over the last few years, it's really imperative that we have him available at the key moments. But we also have to find solutions when he's not available. At the end of the day, you can talk about squad depth, and that was one of the big themes of the summer. Do we have right wing cover? That's what everybody was talking about. There are some players that are so good that you're never going to find cover that is exactly at that same level. If Manchester City are without Rodri, yes, they've got lots of great players, but no one's as good as Rodri in that role. No one's as good as Kevin De Bruyne in that role. So no matter how much depth you've got, you have to accept that there are going to be players that are outstanding. When they're not playing, it's a problem, but you've got to find solutions.
Do you think, though, that's my opinion, yeah? I just feel we're focusing so much on our best player that the others who are on the bench, I've been on the bench, so I know what I'm talking about, yeah? Being on the bench, it's a mind problems. You're just on there, you're waiting to come on, you're not coming on, disappointed. Next game, happen again. Physically, them guys need to play as well. So it's very difficult to judge player. I'm talking about Sterling, for example, who's a big name, showed what he's capable of doing for many years. Well, we know what he can do. But if he doesn't play, trust me, when he gets a chance, he won't be at his best because he needs to play. And that's maybe an opportunity for Mikel to not playing Saka and to give chance to the others. The others got to play as well at some point. Otherwise, the day we need them, we'll be all like, well, you see, he's coming on, he's not, but he hasn't played for 2 months. How do you expect him to be on, match fit and ready to perform?
Because that's an interesting point to make, obviously, with who we've got on the bench. Obviously, we have the starting 11 and we seem to see a lot of the same people starting each week. But you're right. Everyone else still needs to keep warm. They still need to keep playing because they need to keep moving to be able to perform. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point, actually. And in the last game against Southampton, we had Jesus and Sterling start the game. And there was, they did okay, but there was a few grumblings about their performance, etc. And once I got over that part, you sort of say to yourself, well, actually, the next time we see them, they'll have those match minutes in their legs. They might be a bit better, So I think we have to build it, because what we tend to do is we criticise the manager for not trusting players. So come to the crunch part of the year, we're down to like 14, and we're all scared if they cross the road. Do you see what I mean? Because they've got to play. And so to build it, we might have to take half a game where someone's a little bit 6 out of 10. But the next week, it might be 6.5, might be 7. I think maybe Saturday against Bournemouth is an example where we can do that. We don't have to end the game with them, and we just build the minutes into the overall group.
So moving on to a few of our other players, because we have quite a few out on international duty. We have Gabriel Martinelli. So he was chosen for Brazil recall, which is amazing, but he did miss the game last night with Peru with a calf injury. Is that a worry then for Bournemouth on the weekend?
He's a sprinter, Jeremy, like you. Right?
Yeah, I know. Listen,
that calf is a funny one.
All muscle injuries are always concerning. You've got to make sure you treat it right and be very careful with it. For me, the fact that Arsenal hasn't asked him to come back ASAP to get treated at home, for me, is kind of a good point. The fact that they've let him, with Brazil for the game last night to just watch and be involved there and just be around the team makes me think that it can't be that serious. Otherwise, they would have asked him to jump on the plane and get straight back to Arsenal training ground to get treated by our medical staff. So I'm not thinking it's anything major.
I like the inside player knowledge there.
To Clive's point as well, though, you said it, he's a sprinter. He's a player that needs to be at 100% to offer the maximum that he can. And I think Martinelli's an interesting one because he started the season with a lot of pressure around him. He hadn't delivered last season the numbers that he delivered the season prior. People were looking at him to step up. Trossard's come into the group and done really, really well and contributed goals in big, important moments. And so everyone was looking at Martinelli. But I think in the last few weeks, he started to come back into his own. He's offered us so much defensively. In those games at Spurs and at Manchester City, I thought he was incredible without necessarily getting the credit from the wider media. But if there's a risk when it comes to him, then you got to be careful with that one as well. But to your point, the fact that he's still with the Brazilian national team means that everybody seems quite relaxed about it, at least.
Yeah, he just wanted to be on that private plane. You'd have stayed for that plane, wouldn't you?
That's
really nice.
actually what it is, isn't it? There we go. We got it out of him.
I'm not missing that flight.
So then let's also have a chat about Leandro Trossard. So he has contributed to a goal and an assist and also played 180 minutes with his country, which is, again, amazing. So is this a good thing to see, obviously, moving forward for Arsenal?
I'm not sure we needed 180, but we got it. I don't know the full story, but he had a few problems in the summer with the Belgium national team, and he wasn't in the last squad. And to go from not being the last squad to playing both games in the next meet is good, right? So he's obviously found his way. I think Arsenal people really appreciate him for what he's done. If we were to look at his goals and assist record since he came here, I wonder where this team would actually be without his impact. If we were to study it properly, and his goals are not the 5th goal in the 5-0. They're the winning goal, the late equalising goal, major assists. So I think he's a major player for us without us realising it. He's the sort of player that we need going forward if we want to raise our level, because he seems to be able to be comfortable off the bench, comfortable starting, and he's more consistent, because there were some games I'd say, you need to start. Then when he'd start, I couldn't find him. And he's like, you need to be on the bench. And he'd come off the bench, do brilliant, you need to start. And then that sort of cycle has gone around, but now we've got a consistent period of starting in a system that suits him. I think he's doing really well, really well.
Do you think then, just on the point that you made earlier, because he's playing a lot more, that's why he's performing?
Well, we were talking about it, weren't we? Like, we were just saying about players need to play to get to their best. I actually think he's probably one of the players that, been on the bench and coming on, some players will be a bit like, coming on for 10 minutes, can't be bothered. He just brings something every single time he plays. Start or coming on, his numbers are incredible. And I just feel there's not many players who's got that mind strength to be able to deal with the disappointment of being on the bench, because you can see, surely you can't be happy being on the bench, right? Yeah. But still coming on and delivering and scoring or assisting. And as you mentioned, Clive, we're not talking about the 5th goal in a 5-0. It's always important goal. He turns game around for us, which is amazing. And, some players, we were talking about Martinelli as well earlier on, who is a player that needs to play. And I think last year he's lost a bit of confidence because he was not starting every game like he used to when he was at his best. Now, suddenly start playing and starting every game, he feels important again. He feels that sharp and things coming back for him again. When Trossard, I feel like, don't really worry too much if he's on the bench. I know he's going to come on and deliver something, which is incredible.
I think with Trossard as well, I think you mentioned that debate that goes on. You know, he plays well, comes on, contributes, then everyone says he should start the following week, and then he doesn't, or then he does, and then he doesn't do as well from the beginning of a game. I don't think the fact that he doesn't start every game when everyone's available is a slight on Leandro Trossard. I just think tactically, Mikel Arteta looks for something else from his wide man. And Martinelli offers a lot of that without always offering the end product. Trossard gives you the end product, but maybe doesn't stretch teams as much, doesn't give you that defensive work rate that Gabriel Martinelli can give you. So it's an interesting debate, but I think we make too much of it. I think it's one that we go into in too much depth when actually it's just about the fit for the game, for the game plan, and basically it's about what works on that day. And it's not a criticism of Leandro Trossard or a mark against him that he doesn't always start. He's just that kind of player.
Oh, no, 100%. And it's funny because obviously what you said, Jeremy, about when he is on the bench, I don't always tend to worry because especially last season, he was the super sub. That's what he got called, the super sub. So he's still, when that happens, he comes on and gets those critical goals, get those moments where we need him. He seems to deliver, which is always really interesting.
Yeah, the concept of the bench, right? Let's have a conversation about it. I mean, because it's changing, isn't it? I mean, we didn't have 5 subs when you played, right? So I think you could change half the team. And so the mindset of how we look at a player doesn't start a game, from a fan perspective, maybe needs to develop. I think there's development room in how we use substitutes, how we recruit for players who are absolutely focused on adding a lot of power for maybe half an hour, so you get a 90 minutes from one position. I think there's room for evolution in our mindset around the players that don't start. Now, when you're coming through academies, Jeremy, everything you want to do is about starting the game, get minutes. I feel as though I've succeeded because I'm starting. But maybe even that needs to change at the highest level. That mindset needs to change, and people will be judged more on minutes that you get and your impact to the squad overall. I think the game has got room to evolve in that thought process, in my mind anyway.
I can't agree more. I can't agree more because I remember in my time, as you said, there was only 3 subs and rarely substitute were done quickly. It was always 10, 15 minutes at the end. And I just feel now fans, players, everybody needs to change their mindset because being on the bench, it doesn't mean that you're not as good as the one that start. Because you will come on. There's so much more games now that you will get your time. You've just got to be patient, keep focused, keep thinking about what is the best thing for the team at the time. And if the best thing is for you to be the super sub like Trossard coming on and having that mindset, I've got 15 minutes, I'm going to change the game. And that's what he does. Yeah. I think he's got that mindset where he doesn't take it as a obviously disappointment because you want to be on the bench, you want to be on the pitch, but thinking, you know what, whatever I get today, I'll make something. Yeah. Something will happen. I'll do something. I'll score. I'll assist. Or I'll turn the game around, and that's a massive point. Yeah.
I do think people read into Trossard's body language sometimes too much, or his facial expression, because he never looks happy when he scores. He always has this same expression. So sometimes people will look at Leandro Trossard and say he looks unhappy or he looks miserable. Actually, he's just got a very, it's an expression that doesn't give anything away. So I don't think we need to read into it too much.
So then let's move on to William Saliba. He unfortunately gave away a penalty with France, but we all watched the video. He slipped. I mean, it looked like he slipped. Do you think this was a really, really unlucky penalty?
Yeah, it was super unlucky, wasn't it? He just lost his footing at the key moment. I've seen people on social media try to pick it apart, and there's been a lot of hype around William Saliba, and rival fans don't necessarily like it, and they don't like some of the comparisons being made between him and some of the other Premier League defenders. But he's just slipped. It's not a misjudgment. It's not a bad moment of defending. He hasn't switched off. He's just literally lost his footing. I blame the pitch.
Well, firstly, I don't want him on the bench, right? But seriously, I think when he plays for France, he plays on the left-hand side of that central defence partnership, and for us, obviously, he's always on the right-hand side, and I think that's an important difference. I think his body orientation is not quite the same. He covers across to the right a lot. He approaches that Jeremie knows, he approached that too fast, didn't he? Didn't slow down enough, so ended up means he fell over. I don't mind him doing that in front of the world. Do that in front of the world, because then no one's going to come along and buy you. I think that's really important. We need to stop hyping our players and just quieten it down, because seriously, one of the key things we have to think about is succession planning with this group, not just the players but the coaches. You don't think people are not looking at what we're doing and not trying to take our good people away to try to destabilise us. And so it's happening without us knowing. Trust me on this, right? So, yeah, William Saliba, we all know how good he is. Let's just get a few comps out there that show the slipping, and so no one comes near him. Honestly, we need to let people run away with their comparisons, and we just stay nice and calm and watch him every single week, hopefully the next half a decade.
For me, there's a couple of things. With France, there's been, before the Euros, a lot of people talking about William, saying he's not that good, and he could not get in the French team before the Euros. Didier Deschamps saying it, and I could not really get my head around it. And I think that put a lot of pressure when he plays for France. He's not the same player mentally. I just feel he's a bit nervous, he's a bit stressed. That's the first thing. The second thing, the way we play Arsenal, he gets the ball, he tries to find passes through the line to Jorginho, Partey, Declan Rice, whoever it is. France don't really want that too much. And I think that's what Didier Deschamps is not really happy with him. Defensively, no problem. We know, as a defender, what he can do. When he has the ball, he still wants to play the Arsenal way.
Yeah.
And France don't really want him to do that. They just want him to defend and then just hit it wide. But he wants to play. And that's what happened as well on the Tchouaméni's red card.
Yeah.
He tried to play, lost the ball, and then Tchouaméni have to give a second yellow, got a red card. So everybody in France start blaming Saliba for it, and obviously give a penalty away. Plus that, I just feel he's a little bit more under pressure with France than he is with us. Obviously, we just appreciate him and know what he can do.
So then, did you?
No, it's a really good point, actually. The impact of international football on our players. In our bubble, we know them so well, and they can do no wrong, and they know everybody around them. But it was the same for Declan Rice in the summer. He got some criticism about how he played, and he's come back into our world, and people are looking at him slightly differently. Same for Saliba. We can't understand it because they do so well. But when they come out, they come back in, it's important that we give them the right support and give them time to adjust. So it's a really good point being made about Saliba there. I totally agree.
So then before we wrap up with the international news, let's have a quick chat about David Raya. So he could be the new Spain number one. He played on Spain's 1-0 win over Denmark and then their 3-0 win against Serbia. So it can only be good for Arsenal if he does make that number one shirt for Spain.
Yeah, I think he's clearly grown in confidence this season. I think when he first joined the club, the pressure of having to replace Aaron Ramsdale and the noise from the supporters, it probably weighed quite heavy on David Raya. And when Ramsdale left, he kind of felt like a weight had been lifted off of his shoulders. I think Ramsdale's shown incredible class, by the way, in some of the things he said about Raya since his departure. But you can see he's more confident. He comes and claims things. The defence believes in him a little bit more. And there's that cohesion between him and the centre-halves that maybe was lacking at times at the beginning, which is natural. New goalkeeper with a new backline, it's going to take time to develop those relationships. But he's grown in stature as an Arsenal player. And I've never been too sure about Unai Simon in the Spain goal. So I'm not surprised that with the form that David Raya is in, he's playing as the number one right now. And I think he's good enough to hold on to it.
Nice, nice. So then we're going to move on from the international duty, and we actually have to address some big news for the club. So the Arsenal women's team manager, Jonas Eidevall, has resigned from his role. So, Clive, isn't this a huge surprise to see after the loss to Chelsea on Saturday?
Maybe the timing slightly, because we've got a couple of games before the international break, and people thought that maybe we'd see something happening in that break. I think there's been a lot of indifferent sort of support for him, because the things that are going wrong regarding how we play against the smaller teams, against low blocks, we keep making the same mistakes. So the start of last season, we dropped points to Liverpool. The start of this season, we dropped points to Everton, who are bottom of the league. And these are things that are really making people concerned, because Chelsea won the league last year they dropped 8 points, and Arsenal already dropped 7 points already. So it puts a start on the season, which is tough. So for me, I think what Arsenal women have done, they've grown that club and grown the commercial side so quickly. We've got the greatest fan base, the biggest fan base. We take the most fans away from home. But what we've also done is created an environment where there's lots of eyes on us. And that means that pressure comes on top. And you need everything to grow together. And I think this is all part of the journey that we're on. The next steps are going to be really interesting to see what they do. And it's really important to see what style we go for. So yeah, it's sad for him. It's sad for anyone that loses their job or resigns. But I'm so interested to see the next steps of what Arsenal women do, because it's all there to really go and explode.
Is there still hope for them to challenge for the season? Sorry, for the title this season?
There's always hope, but they're going to have to win a lot of games away from home, particularly against some of the bigger teams. So to lose to Chelsea and Man City, drew against Man City, lose to Chelsea, that's not great. So you have to go, we're going to have to go to those places and make sure we win. But there's still the Champions League, there's still the FA Cup, and so there's still a lot for the season ahead. It's just going to be an interesting time in the next couple of weeks, see what we do regarding a new coach.
So let's move on to something else. You may have seen the comments made by Graeme Souness doing the rounds across social media this week. I mean, it is an international break after all. Well, in the interview with Simon Jordan for a podcast, Souness was asked if Arsene Wenger is a football man, and he said he wasn't. Most Arsenal fans who have seen the clip have all had the same reaction, but I want to know your initial thoughts. I'm going to start with Harry and Clive. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've got a lot of respect for what Graeme Souness achieved as a player. There's no doubt about it. He was one of the greatest ever to do it. But some of the things that he's come out with in recent years, I've disagreed with. None more so, though, than this. I think this is a ridiculous comment. To say that Arsene Wenger is not a football man is... I don't know how you could pluck that out of the air. Arsene Wenger dedicated his life to this game and to our club. We've seen it firsthand. We know more than anybody that Arsene Wenger is the definition of a football man. And so to hear someone with such a high standing in the game come out and say something like this, because what? He didn't share a glass of wine with him, so what? It's ridiculous to me. It's petty, it's childish. I mean, I grew up as an Arsenal supporter and had a dislike for Sir Alex Ferguson because I was an Arsenal fan at the height of the Manchester United rivalry. But you'd never catch me sitting there saying he wasn't a football man or didn't love and live and breathe the game. It's a ridiculous comment from someone who's clearly bitter about something. We don't know exactly what. And unfortunately, I think he's let himself down with that.
There was an undertone of bitterness. That's what I felt as well. But Clive, I wanna see what you've got to say now, because you're smirking away.
It's just about people embracing difference. He's different to how I grew up. He's different view of how he looks at the game, how he looks at people. I mean, I'm sitting next to somebody who can really, really answer these questions. He's different, but different doesn't mean you're not you're bad. He's just different the way you approach things, and he's taught us so much about the holistic view of football, how to make players play free, how to create different things, how to manage people, how to lengthen people's careers with different ways of looking after yourself, bringing some of that science in. I mean, he's really educated me, and the game's gone on again since. So embrace that difference. It's only going to benefit us in the future. But some people like to live in the past. If you live in the past and you don't have 10 pints and fish and chips after a game, you're not a football man, right? So, now I do that now, but that's neither here or there, right? But yeah, and that's it. Embrace the future, and there's more to come. There's more to come in that regard.
So Jeremy, over to you. You were the only person in this room managed by Arsene Wenger. Would you say he's a football man?
Oh my God, of course he is. As you said, he's dedicated his life to football, and he still do now. To say something like this is pretty shocking for me. It's like, I just can't believe. It actually makes me feel he said that just for a reaction, just to be in the press, just to have his name down, because it's just something so big that it just doesn't make sense. Arsene Wenger is, for me, he's changed football in this country. When he came, as you mentioned, football was going to the pub, drinking before games, and I've seen it because I came in 1999 and that was still still around. And he's just changed everything. He's changed the preparation, what we eat, how to rest, how to prepare, how to believe in ourselves, how to achieve, winning trophies, all that kind of stuff. And I just think it's incredible to hear negativity at that level on Arsene, to be honest. Yeah.
So Souness obviously also said that Arsene Wenger wouldn't go and have a drink in his office after a game. Why do you think Arsene wouldn't have a drink with Souness in his office?
Because he didn't like him, probably. Because they had nothing in common. Didn't see football the same way. Because I've been into Arsene's office about a few years ago after a game, and Sam Allardyce was there with his assistant and all his coaching staff. So, Arsene's always got time for the managers that he appreciates and that shares similar views and passion. So yeah, I would say that's probably because he didn't really get on with him.
And just to add to that, think about the rivalry that Arsene and Sam Allardyce had when he was at Bolton. Mm-hmm. Think about that rivalry that existed at that time. And then you hear that those two were in the office together having a drink. It goes to show that the biggest people, they can put that to one side, understand that everybody's going out there to do a job to try and win the game. And you can appreciate someone without necessarily agreeing with their style and the way they approach the game. So this idea that, he doesn't have drinks with people, Graeme Souness, I think you just didn't get the invite, mate. Get over it. How many years later is this? When was he manager of Newcastle? We're going back to the early 2000s. Get over it. It's 2024.
Yeah, I think someone's a bit upset they didn't get the invite. But anyway, did you then speak with Arsene about football when you were off the pitch?
That's all we talk about. That's all we, every day, every training session, or even outside football, having, dinners or whatever. It's always about football. It's always about how to improve yourself as a person, as a player. Your mind as well is very big on mindset and how to believe in your abilities, and that's one of his top quality as a manager. Man management for me. He made me believe that I was the best player in the world and I could play anywhere and achieve anything. And it's not a surprise that we went all season invincible in 2003 or 4. It's because he made us believe that that was achievable and we were going to do it. Straight at the beginning of the season, he said we were going to achieve it, and we did. So I think it's on top of what he does on the football pitch. I think it's just the way he makes you, really, believe and trust in your ability and trust in yourself is just incredible.
I like that. He made you and helped you believe in you and the team and everything that was going on. That's really nice. So then let's move on. So on last Friday's show, we spoke about the impact of Riccardo Calafiori and his role within the team. Well, here's the excellent football meta explaining exactly how Arsenal's Italian defender is being utilised.
Calafiori has quickly established himself in Arsenal's starting lineup, gaining confidence and finding his place in Arteta's system. And we're beginning to see why he could be a pivotal signing for Arsenal this season. After impressing under Thiago Motta at Bologna and one of Italy's only standout players at the Euros, Arsenal were quick to make a move for the 22-year-old centre-back-fullback hybrid. But Arteta is using him in a slightly different role from what he's accustomed to. While his season at Bologna saw him start as a centre-back, his key trait was undeniably his ability to drive the ball forward. And Arteta has been able to put this to good use without sacrificing his solid centre-back partnership. To do this, he's allowing Calafiori to play in a much more advanced position. Arsenal have been starting their matches in either a 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 formation, but will almost always shift into a 3-2-5 shape when in possession, creating this box in the centre that allows them to outnumber the opposition's midfield, whilst simultaneously outnumbering the defensive line with 5 players. In this shape, Calafiori is being used as the inverted fullback, starting out wide, but quickly drifting into the centre of the pitch, allowing Declan Rice to push forward between the lines. In Arsenal's recent wins against PSG and Southampton, Calafiori was often the first target from the defensive line in midfield, comfortable under pressure and moving the ball into the free players around him to help Arsenal gain control of the pitch. But Calafiori is not fixed to this position, and he has the freedom to rotate and pick up more advanced positions as well. In fact, in Arteta's system, as long as the base structure is maintained, the players are free to rotate and pick up whatever position is needed. And it's common to see Calafiori pick up the ball in a number of different positions. At times, swapping places with the winger, or more commonly, picking up the ball between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines, with Declan Rice giving the team more cover in the centre. This structure was seen multiple times in their recent matches, such as in this move here against PSG, with Arsenal breaking the midfield line and Calafiori being in acres of space to push forward with the ball. Or in their build-up to Havertz's goal to make it 1-0 in the 20th minute. This more central position has also been crucial for Arsenal in the final third, as it allows him to connect play out wide with the winger or look to circulate possession away from the pressure. And it's a position that has already caused a lot of issues for the opposition, like his incredible long-range equaliser against Man City. But this very subtle position in the half space means that if Arsenal are moving down the right flank, this pass across the box becomes extremely dangerous, as he has the space to cross it into the forwards or out wide and attack the half space. And if Arsenal lose the ball, he is instantly ready to put pressure on the opponent, helping them regain possession high in the opposition's half. And it's a position that we're likely to see being used frequently in Arsenal's upcoming match against Bournemouth at the weekend. Iraola has definitely made Bournemouth an entertaining team to watch, with an aggressive high press, quick vertical football when in possession, and creating a lot of chances but struggling to hit the back of the net. But there are some spaces that Arsenal will definitely look to exploit. Bournemouth want to close the opposition down as quickly as possible, by closing off central options and forcing play out wide, trying to get the opposition to play long balls into the centre-backs. And Arsenal will need to be careful not to get caught into this trap. But in order to do this, Bournemouth do tend to leave a lot of space on the opposite side of the pitch. And their 4-1-3-2 pressing shape does give room to players like Calafiori and Partey to play third-man passes away from the pressure, and help Arsenal gain ground. If able to find space away from Bournemouth's first press, then teams like Liverpool have been able to exploit these big gaps in midfield, with the defensive line often being isolated against the attacking set of players. A space Arsenal will definitely look to exploit in a similar fashion to their game against PSG in the Champions League. Defensively speaking, Arsenal will need to watch out for Iraola's quick attacks. Bournemouth are a team that don't waste time when in possession. A typical pattern will see a long ball into the striker dropping deep with good support between the lines, and ready to move the ball out wide into the wingers. From here, Bournemouth are able to get a lot of players forward quickly, attacking the half spaces, with the wingers cutting inside and linking up play on the edge of the box. By far their most prolific position this season, with the vast majority of their chances coming from deep crosses into the box from this position, or the wingers dribbling past the defenders and shooting from just inside the box.
Thank you to the brilliant football meta. Guys, what do you think of Calafiori's role this season?
I think it's bang on. It's brilliant. I think Calafiori's role is a really, really interesting one. I cover a lot of Italian football, so I'd seen quite a bit of him before he came to Arsenal. And one of the criticisms that he often got thrown at him was that he's a bit too bold in possession, he's a bit too brave, he tries outrageous things from centre-back. And so Mikel bringing him in and putting him at left-back means that there's a little bit more protection if he does want to be a little bit more adventurous in the way he plays. I think he's a great fit for us. I think he's brought the best out of Gabriel Martinelli. I always think back to, you guys must have seen it when Zinchenko gave an interview. I think it was to Rio Ferdinand, and he spoke about how the role of the inverted fullback is to come inside to either take people with him and sort of, you know, move them away from Martinelli and mean that he can have that one-on-one versus the fullback, or to overload in the midfield. And then if you work it out to the winger and you give him that 1v1 situation over and over again, they're going to make it count. And Martinelli's had a lot of joy as a result of Calafiori coming into the side. I think he's great. I think he's Zinchenko with a bit more defensively, and that's ultimately what we were looking for.
Yeah, so I think first time I saw him at Arsenal, when he went to invert, I watched him off the sideline. He came off late off the bench, and when he inverts, he goes in like he means business. So some of the things we see in tactics, moving people around, but when you get there, what can you do? Have you got the ability to actually affect the game in the interior and on the outside? And he has that ability. So when he's out wide and he has to cross the ball, he can do that. When he's inside, he can shoot, he can pass either side, short and long, and he can carry. So the tactics is one thing, but the ability when you're in those spaces to be multi-layered and produce affects the opposition, because they have to come and meet you. They have to come out and step out to you. When they step out to you, somebody else is free, like Martinelli, for example. So if I'm going through the midfield, no one's coming to find me. They're going to let me go, right? Players with low quality, you can have it. You can have it. Let's see what you do. Players with quality, you have to deal with them. I think what Arteta's done is added more quality to allow us to do the things that he wants to do on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I think it's for me, the inverted fullback is nothing new. We've seen it with Zinchenko when he arrived, and that's when we've started seeing Mikel Arteta playing that way, more on the left-hand side that we do on the right. But what you see with Calafiori, first, to be able to play in that position, you've got to be a great football player all around. Yeah. Because you end up from a left-back position where you've got all the game in front of you and the touchline on the side, where you can see everything. Suddenly, you get into the middle, there's things going on behind your back. So your awareness and your understanding of football has got to be at the top. It's the hardest position to play because there's no hiding. You've got to have 360 eyes everywhere. So he's able to do that as well as Zinchenko. But on top of that, he's able to drive forward with the ball. And that's something that I didn't, I knew he could do, but not from a left side point of view. I thought, I've seen him with Italy at the Euros and saw that centre-back keep driving forward. And I thought, wow, he's brave, as a centre-back. But he does it from a left-back position, getting into midfield and ending up finishing and getting involved in the attacking play, which is incredible, absolutely incredible for a player to adjust to the Premier League and to a system so quickly and be so, so powerful going forward.
He's not a conventional Italian defender either.
He's definitely not.
That's why it took a bit of time, I think, for him to be appreciated. He had to go away and he played at Basel for a little bit and he came back. And even when he started doing really well for Bologna under Thiago Motta, people were looking at him and going, okay, it's all well and good, but you've got a mistake in you because of how brave you are in possession. And I think it takes a coach like Mikel Arteta who will encourage you to show that bravery and will encourage you to step into those areas to bring the best out of players like him. And that's why I think he's landed at a great spot for himself. But for us, it's brilliant because we get both sides of the game. And if he needs to tuck in and be a centre-back, essentially, like he did against Manchester City when things got tough for us down to 10 men, he's got that side to his game as well.
So bold, brave, adventurous, these are all words that have just been used to describe Calafiori. Is that a bad thing?
Not really, and young. He's the youngest player in our team in the last game. And that's the thing, to be that young, to come over to a new country, to a new team, and impose your personality on the team, I think that's incredible. I think, honestly, we've got something special here, I feel. Really do. There's so many players in the world, but he's quite a unique player in style. There's not many defenders that do that in their game so young. So I do think we're very fortunate. I think some of the talent ID at Arsenal is really good. They know what they're doing. And when we saw him in the summer, this is a really interesting point. So when we saw him play in the Euros, a few of us said, he would look quite good at Arsenal. We all said it, and suddenly he was here. But that tells you that the manager has a game plan and a model that we all recognise now. So we can almost pick the next player almost when we see him because we know that will suit. And that wasn't the case a few years ago as we were trying to define where we are. We weren't so sure. But a few of us looked at Calafiori and went, he's not bad. And when he came in, we could all see what position he was going to play immediately. And now he's doing it. And that's a credit to the club and what they've done so far.
Yeah, could not agree more. I think as well, what I like to touch on is he's able to do what he's doing because obviously he's a fantastic player, great signing, but it's because he's got Gabriel and Saliba at the back. Gabriel shifting on the left when he comes in the middle, he feels secure. And as you mentioned earlier on, you can see how brave he is. He could get a little mistake, but he's got that safety net behind him with Gabriel and Saliba, which allow him to make maybe that mistake one or two times, And I think that's a big point, And yeah, great point about Arsenal, again, going to get a player like him, know exactly where to fit him and always try to improve. Because, I don't know about you guys, but when Zinchenko came in and started doing that job, I thought, oh my God, that is right suited for him. Comfortable on the ball in small areas, fantastic, but, you want a bit more. So now suddenly we're still looking for someone that can do this job even better than him. And it looks like we find him.
It would have been so easy as well for the club to look at the left-back position and say, well, Timber can play there, Tomiyasu can play there, Kivior can play there, Zinchenko can play there, and go, that's not a priority. But there's that constant want to improve and to keep moving forward, which is, I think, the most exciting thing about Mikel Arteta's management. He never rests on his laurels, always learning, always trying to make the team better.
So, before we go, let's have a look ahead to the weekend with our Premier League match against Bournemouth. Joining me now is Matt from Up the Cherries in All Departments podcast. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
Hello. So, what do you make of Bournemouth's chances in the upcoming game?
Yeah, it's going to be obviously a very difficult one. We play a similar style of play to Arsenal with the high press. I think there's definitely going to be goals in this one. But yeah, Bournemouth are going to have to be on their best on the day to grind a result out, I believe.
So what do you see then as the ways that Bournemouth can hurt Arsenal?
The wing play, really. I mean, I'm sure all you guys are fully aware of the player that everyone's talking about at the minute, Symeou. Symeou is a very dangerous player, cutting in from the wing. He can tease a defender. Very good at delivering a ball, and he can also finish as well from the edge of the box. So I think him, Tavernier, Justin Clive, they're all going to be extremely important in terms of our wing play and getting that ball in the box for us to create chances to beat Arsenal. But the main thing is we've got to be clinical.
So over to the panel then. Have you guys got any questions?
Yeah, I just wondered what you think about Evan Nilsson since he's come there. What's your thoughts on him? Because there are rumours of other centre-forwards coming, but you settled on him. How's he done so far?
He's still settling in. He hasn't hit the ground running as we all hoped. Obviously, replacing Dom Solanke was a massive ask. He's only got the one goal this season, which he scored against Southampton. But his movement off the ball, the way he gets into space is all fantastic. It's just I think he needs a bit of confidence. Obviously, with all strikers, confidence is massive. So I think if he can get some more confidence and a couple of goals, I think he'll come good. I think he's a decent player.
Matt, I remember covering the Arsenal-Bournemouth game at the Vitality last season, and at the time, Andoni Iraola was under a little bit of pressure because the results weren't coming. He was trying to embed his style of play. Is there a kind of unanimous support for him now? Has he done enough to prove to you guys that the club is moving in the right direction? And you got to accept that sometimes the style is going to cause problems, but ultimately it's for the greater good.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's definitely won the fans over now. Like I say, in terms of this time last season, I think we got like 7 more points on the board than we had last season. It took a time to obviously him to implement his play, but he's definitely won the fans over, and you can see that his style of play excites the fans. I think he's slightly underrated as a manager, to be honest. I think he's going to have a decent career as a manager. Just hopefully most of that will be with Bournemouth.
Jeremy, do you have a question?
Yeah, just wanted to ask, we've seen in the Leo video that obviously Bournemouth are a very high pressing team and want to just try to get the ball really high, which obviously suits Arsenal quite good because that's what we're great at finding passes through the lines. Do you think he will change his style of play for that game?
I don't think so. I think maybe be a little bit more cautious. I think from our perspective, maybe the midfield battle is going to be crucial with the likes of Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie. Going to have to be on top form to win the ball back, to get the ball back out onto the wings for us. But yeah, I can't see Iraola changing too much. Like I say, he might just be a little bit more cautious, obviously with Arsenal being as dangerous as they are. But yeah, I don't think we'll change our approach too much.
So Matt, then I have a question. What is your prediction for the weekend?
Well, I can't not back my side, but at the same time, you've got to be realistic. Obviously, Arsenal are dangerous. We know what Arsenal can do with players like Saka and, everybody else that Arsenal have got. You can punish us from all areas on the pitch. But I think there's definitely, with the way we play and Arsenal play, there's definitely going to be goals in it. And I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. That's from my heart, though.
Interesting, a 2-2 draw. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to chat, and good luck for Saturday, but not too much luck.
Yeah, cheers.
And then over to you guys. What are your predictions, and how do you think the weekend's going to go?
I think they're going to win. I hope they're going to win. But I do think, you mentioned Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie there, I do think the game is there. I think it's going to be a tackling game. I think they like to transition. I think we need to make sure we can control that and then keep them in the areas that we want to keep them in. Bournemouth is quite a tight ground, isn't it, Harry? It's quite tight. So it feels like we need to be good quality in small spaces. Maybe we could see a Wanyeri come on late in this game. I think their environment might suit him, and have some impact. But yeah, it's going to be a small space attacking game, but also control the transitions and make sure we out-tackle them in the centre there. And I think we could be okay.
Yeah, I think Clive's right in terms of where the game's going to be won and lost. I think it's really important that we manage the game well in the early stages. Down on the South Coast, it's a 5:30 kickoff. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it is a difficult place to go at times. And if they get the crowd behind them, they're a very front-footed side and they're going to be aggressive in the way that they play. So as good as we are at the moment and as good as we are at keeping teams at arm's length, there will be periods in the game, I think, where we need to ride it out and we need to make sure we don't do anything silly. I think set pieces, I know it's an easy thing to go to with Arsenal nowadays because of how dangerous they are from them. But I think that's a big part of this game again, because when I look at that Bournemouth side, if I was to write a list of weaknesses, and that's not to take anything away from them, I think they're great under Iraola, but that would be something I'd be looking to take full advantage of.
For me, every season I always feel small stadium, difficult place to go, and we always look very comfortable. And at the end of it, we just go back with a win, and no worries. So I'll be in the same kind of frame of mind, thinking, I just think we're too strong at the moment. We're too good. We've got too much quality for them. So I think if we play the way we've been doing all season, it shouldn't be any problem.
I mean, what a bad thing that is. We're too good, we're too strong at the moment, honestly. Worst things in life. So just before we wrap up, I just want to get your predictions for the weekend.
For me, 3-1.
3-0. I was going to say 3-1.
I'm going to go for the famous old 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Very nice. I was going to say 3-1, so it's interesting there was three of us in there. Amazing. Well, that is all we've got time for this week. A huge thanks to Jeremie Aliadiere, Clive Palmer and Harry Symeou. We'll see you next week, and remember, trust the process.